Chinese President Xi Jinping and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin will meet via video link on Wednesday, and this meeting will be their first since June. CGTN's Liu Jiaxin has more in Beijing.
According to Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin, during the meeting, President Xi and Putin will look back on the development of bilateral ties this year and the outcomes gained from bilateral cooperation, and they will plan the development of ties in the coming year. The two leaders will also discuss major international and regional issues of mutual concern. The conversation will take place at a moment of high tension in both countries' relations with the West, especially with Moscow over its buildup of troops near the border with Ukraine. And Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Russia sees, quote, very aggressive rhetoric on the NATO and U.S. side, and he believes that this requires discussion between Russia and China. He also added that the two leaders would hold a long conversation with a broad agenda including energy, trade, and investment. Xi and Putin have met 36 times since 2013. During their most recent meeting, which was held via video link in June, the two heads of the state announced the extension of the China-Russia Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation.
And the heads of state of China and Russia have maintained frequent contact this year. Cooperation is strong in politics, trade, science, energy, and the military. Wang Haiyang tells us more.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of the China-Russia Treaty of Good Neighborliness and Friendly Cooperation. Both sides have celebrated the milestone, while their leaders have made and kept close contact. In May, via video link, the two presidents witnessed the groundbreaking ceremony of a bilateral nuclear power project in northeast China. The plan to build 4 power plants is their biggest joint venture in the sector. In June, they met virtually again to jointly announce the extension of the cooperation treaty.
The two countries' close cooperative relationship has used multilateralism in the United Nations, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, BRICS, Belt and Road Initiative to help resolve pressing global issues. The extension of the Friendship Treaty signifies an unprecedented high level for bilateral ties and an unwavering way forward for the two powers in a positive and healthy manner.
In August, the leaders held a phone conversation to discuss ties and the Afghan situation. And last month, Putin accepted an invitation to attend the opening ceremony of next year's Beijing Winter Olympics in person. Economic ties are also growing. Trade exceeded $100 billion in 2018 and has increased despite the pandemic. In the first 10 months of this year, trade in goods reached a record of $115 billion, topping the whole year volume of 2020. The two sides are working closely in science, technology, and energy. In March, they signed a memorandum of understanding on building a scientific research station on the moon. Construction of their nuclear power plants began in May. In defense, the two nations conducted a number of joint military drills this year. Their navies conducted their first joint cruise.
Relations between China and Russia have grown stronger over the past 8 years. The world is changing, but as we look at the fundamentals, the bond is like going upstairs. It only ever goes up. It's the epitome of great power relations.
There are also a number of cultural programs between the two countries, like language centers and youth forums. Wang Haiyang, CGTN.
Now, for some discussion into this meeting, let's bring in Cui Hongjian from the China Institute of International Studies. He's joining us via Skype from Beijing. Well, we just mentioned the very complicated timing of this meeting with G7 just happened, and the meeting between Modi and Putin happened, and the ongoing Blinken trip to Southeast Asia, and also what might be discussed in this meeting, mainly about the bilateral cooperation. Well, indeed, this meeting is trying to show solidarity and what common grounds that China and Russia really share. So tell us exactly what common positions of China and Russia are sharing in world affairs and also in economic development.
Certainly, as we know, both China and Russia are very all-round coordination, strategic partnership. So which means they do have a very comprehensive cooperation, and they needed to show solidarity in this moment. So now the multilateralism itself has been targeted by some countries, and also the world is still in face of big challenges as a pandemic and also economic recovery and also the regional peace. If we look at what happened, especially pressures from American unilateral policies towards China and Russia, so undoubtedly, I think for this two leaders meeting, they have a lot of issues to touch, especially to strengthen their coordination and to find out the common solution to some for some common challenges. Not only for the, for the both two countries, the stability and development, and also for regional peace, and also, the strategic balance on the global level.
Right, and with the mounting pressure from the West, are we seeing any challenges on the direction or the future of bilateral relations between China and Russia?
And firstly, for China and Russia, they need to strengthen their cooperation not only in traditional defense and security. And we find out recent years, both two countries expand their cooperation into also in energy and the economy. I think it's a very, very positive signal for both two countries to have some more common ground or common interests. Secondly, how could both two countries to help the regional peace and stability? As we know, this year the withdrawal of NATO from Afghanistan raised a lot of uncertainties in this region, and Afghanistan also observer of SCO, and China and Russia, they could have some more cooperation in the frame of SCO. And the third is how could China and Russia they exchange ideas and also have some synergy of policy to face off with some challenges from United States or some other Western countries is a very important issue. So once both two countries showed more solidarity and more strength towards the international community and also Western countries, I think it's very, very helpful for the stability of the global peace and security.
Right, and within the month, the leaders of China, Russia, and the United States actually held or planned to hold separate video meetings. What signals do they send?
I think first of all, for both for those of the big countries, they need to take some more responsible measures to take responsibility to help the stability and the development. So we can find out more and more frequent exchange between leaders from big countries. And also at the same time, I think for China and Russia, this leaders meeting, it's a very, very important vocation for both two leaders to exchange their response to any kind of bilateral meetings with the United States or with some other leaders from countries. So I think it's important now for big countries to help the stability of the frame of big powers. As we know that the big countries, they shoulder more responsibilities for development and peace for the international community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cui Hongjian from the China Institute of International Studies.